Morning, grade 9. So we have the music of classical period. Okay. So in this is in Germany and Austria. So the classical era, also called Age of Reason. Okay. So the cultural life was dominated by aristocracy as patrons of musician and artists which generally influenced by arts. Okay. What I've said before, that in classical period is always have their passion for the arts or the culture that they have. Music of classical period in the middle of 18th century, Europe began to move forward a new style in architecture, literature, and the arts known as classicism. It also pushed forward by changing economic order and social structure. Instrumental music was patronized primarily, primarily by nobility. So they are passionate what they are doing. Important historical event is the French Revolution, Napoleonic Wars, the American Declaration. So these are the important events. While they're doing these important events in that Europe, but they still have doing what are their passion. There's a war, they're doing what they want. So the term classical denotes conformity with the principle and character of ancient Greece, a Roman literature art which were formal, elegant, simple, and free dignified. Okay. So the same characteristics may also describe the melodies of classical music. Harmony and texture is homophonic in general. The dynamics of loud and soft were clearly shown through the extensive use of crescendo and diminuendo. Crescendo is increasing, diminuendo is decreasing of the tones. A style of broken chord accompaniment called Alberti bass, okay, was practiced. The great composer of the period were Franz Joseph Haydn, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Beethoven. Sonata, concerto, and symphony are the instrumental forms developed during this era, while opera seria and opera buffa are the two vocal forms. Trivia facts: work of Haydn and Mozart are still popular today. Yes, their composition is using from the music animated from the popular cartoons such as Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers, 28th Century, and Pixar. Parang without some of the lyrics kasi medyo symphony nga sila, symphonical those composers. Beethoven music was used in films for children, and Little Einstein animated series also features the music of great composer Beethoven, Haydn, and Mozart. These are their biography. Franz Joseph Haydn, one of the most prominent composers of classic period. His life is described as rags to rich. When you say rags to rich, they are came from the um, and from nothing to have because they are very poor family. He was hired by rich patrons and eventually became a musical director of his Terhizi family for 30. Is also music reflect his character and personality. Medyo calm. There is mainly calm, balanced, serious, but with touch of humor. So again, this is only 100 symphonies. He was named father of symphony, although he excelled in every music genre of the period. Most of his symphonies have nicknames such as Surprise Symphony, The Clock, and The Wolfgang or Mozart is a child prodigy of most amazing genius in musical history. At age 5, he was already playing violin. Wow. And harpsichord. At 6, he was recognized as exceptional pianist. And 7, he was already composing excellent music. At age 13, he had written sonatas, concertos, symphonies, and religious works and operas and operetta. He also experimented all kinds of music, composed over 700 works. Wow! He composed wonderful concertos, symphonies, and operas such as Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, The Magic Flute, and other known Kenaklanach music, Symphony Number 40 in G minor. So as you may see, no lyrics at all. Meron man, but it's a few. Ludwig van Beethoven. So Ludwig was born in Bonn, Germany. Okay? So he was the composer who bridged the late classical era and early romantic era. He was a talented pianist and composer. His famous compositions include 32 piano sonatas, 21 set of variations, 9 symphonies, and 5 concerto for piano, and also 16 string quartets and choral music. His work include Missa Solemnes, and Fidelio 1805 or 1805. His known symphonies are Symphony Number 3, Eroica Number 5, Number 6, Number 9, which add voice to orchestra. He began to deaf, as you may see. Deaf siya, ibig sabihin, bingi. Okay? But this not become an hindrance for his passion. So, characteristic of Beethoven, his music veered toward larger orchestra. Sounded was centered of the violas and lower register of violin cellos to give his music darker mood. All themes in Perse are tied together by one motif. He developed musical themes and motifs extensively by means of modulation. He used more brass instrument and dice. In the middle 18th century, Europe began to move toward new style in architecture, arts, and known as classicism. Okay, it's also push for changes in economic or in social structure. It is because they are in the middle of this war, always war there, Napoleon War, Napoleonic War, sa American War. So they are also transiting to another style. Okay, during that era, they are Renaissance, they have Romanticism, Classicism. Therefore, they must to adapt what are those countries that included for. So these are the vocal and instrumental music. A multi-movement work for solo instrument, that's what's called sonata. It came from sonare. This term applied to variety of works for solo instruments such as keyboard or violin. The Winter Sonata. Okay. First movement allegro, fast movement. Second movement slow tempo, andante, largo. Most lyrical and emotional is minuet. Minuet, it is in 3/4 time in order to moderate or fast tempo. Sonata allegro form is the most important from the developed during the classical era because there is a three distinct section: exposition, development, and recapitulation. What is exposition? Okay, exposition in the first part of completion is sonata form that introduces a theme. Development in the middle part, and recapitulation is the repeats of the theme for the first emerge of opening exposition. Concerto, a multi-movement work designed for an instrument soloist orchestra. So what I've said before, the concerto, this is a parang concert for today. Nowadays, it's called concert. Okay, orchestra. There, when you say orchestra, they have more uh, instrumental music or instrument in that case. Ding 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 ding. So some of that. Okay. Three movements of concerto. First movement fast, slow, and fast. So sonata allegro form with position. More on a mention. As you may see, if you need to, some research, conduct a research for about YouTube, you may know that some of the some of this uh you call this from this person like Mozart, Beethoven, okay, and then Haydn, uh, their works is not only a passion but in terms of patience. You know why? Because they are impatient for rather impatient. They are impatient for what they done. Okay, they are doing their guts and blood in making those composed music. So symphony, a multi-movement work for orchestra. The symphony is derived from the sinfonia, which literally means harmony sounding together. It is classical music for the whole orchestra. As you sometimes if you don't have if you have time, uh, play Sonata number 5 by Beethoven. As the 18th century progressed, instrumental music was patronized primarily by nobility with led of rise of a public taste of comic opera. The music was mostly simple but yet pleasant character, while the singing was flexible and sensitive. It's freely express emotion. So the emotion while you are listening to them. Okay, so this is the last classical. So, classical opera, a drama set to music where singers and musicians perform in theatrical setting. A two distinct style of opera is opera seria and opera. So, seria is uh, usually implies uh, what do you call this? Yung tragic drama. Wait. And see, it is because of Ingomio by Mozart, an example of opera seria. So, opera buffa is a genre of opera. It was first used in informal description of Italian comic operas, variously classified by their authors in commedia in musica, commedia per musica, and drama biseco. Okay? So, the latest or the greatest, I mean, is the La Silla music by Michelangelo Fagioli. Okay? So those are the things that we didn't know for this. And the major composer of opera buffa is Alessandro Scarletta. So hope, I think that's for now. So hope you have learned something from Teacher Mark. Bye. Keep safe.